Hello everybody, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Becca and this is my channel where I talk about all the houseplant things. And today is a really fun video because we are going to talk about 5 plants that are just a lot of fun to grow. So there's definitely certain plants in my collection that when they put out a new leaf, I'm a little bit more excited than others. And one of these plants actually inspired the video because it has a new leaf coming out right now. And I'm just really excited about it. And I thought, hey, let's talk about those plants that just stick out a little bit when I know that something new is coming. If you're not already, make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. If you'd like to see regular updates from me, I post a couple times a week. And I'm also over on TikTok at DelaPlants and Instagram at DelaPlants. I'd love to have you join the Houseplant fam. It's a really fun group of people and yeah, let's get started. We're going to start with my Albosingonium, and this plant is so fun. I think this is like the OG really fun plant for me to grow because it has really, really beautiful variegated leaves and each leaf looks different. I just realized I have a scrunchie on, which is not the vibe, so we're gonna take that off. But I'm gonna bring this up so you can see some of these beautiful leaves. Here is one example of a really lovely one. And then, you know, we've got some that have little to no variegation. We've got some with like tiny bits. And then we've got this one, which is like more of like a mottled leaf. I think there was one that really stuck out to me when I picked this up earlier. Let me find it. This one right here. How lovely is that? It's just so cool to see the variety of leaves that it can make. Honestly, I could go all day just like showing you every individual leaf because they're all so different, and I think it just makes a well-rounded and just in general very cool plant. And what's also really nice is the Albosingonium, just Syngonium in general, are like weeds in their native habitats, so they grow like crazy. And I experienced that with this one. I bought this a couple years ago, like I think in 2019, and it got really big and it was really awesome, but it was so tall and there was a lot of empty stem at the bottom of the plant, like by the pot. And I just like didn't like the way that that looked. It wasn't really the vibe for me. So I ended up just like beheading the plant, just like cutting all of the leaves off and propagating some pieces, but then just sort of seeing what the plant would do at the base. 99% of this is just regrowth from those stems that I cut off. So like I just chopped and then put it in my greenhouse cabinet, and then all of this has emerged from that. And I talked about it like all the time for a stint of like, I don't know, 1 or 2 months, because I was literally so excited and like mind blown that the plant just like regenerated all of these beautiful new leaves on its own completely. Like I just watered it and put it in the cabinet. It was great. And all of it is new, and it's like growing really bushy and beautiful, and I'm just really excited that it worked. Every single time a new leaf comes out, it is extremely exciting. And also I have to say that it is a little bit less variegated than the original leaves were. When I first bought it, it had a lot of variegation on it. But, you know, that could be due to a lot of things. However, I'm not super concerned about it because, you know, we'll have a random leaf that looks like this, but then most of them will just be a little bit more of like a darker green variegation situation, and that is better for the plant long term. Like when it comes to variegation, I am much more of I like a marbled look. I like a mostly green variegated look because the white margins are really beautiful and fun, but they don't last forever. And it's nice to have some consistency and some leaves that are going to, you know, sustain the plant in a healthy way and really contribute to the group. Okay, my dehumidifier just turned on, so I had to go turn that off because it sounds like a freight train. All right, the next plant that I want to discuss is my Anthurium clarinervium. And I feel like maybe I talk about this one a lot. I'm not really sure, but I feel like I need to talk about it more because it is truly so incredible. And I mean, just looking at it in the viewfinder, I like have butterflies. It's so pretty. And the leaves that it's been putting out recently have been quite large. You can see this one is like basically the size of my face. which is so exciting, especially considering like this is the size of leaf that we had right before that. And so the leaves are just getting bigger and bigger, which is what you hope from a houseplant. And especially with Anthurium, I find Anthurium extremely rewarding to grow. However, they are quite difficult, and I've had a severe learning curve. I'm gonna be honest. You guys have watched that on my houseplant journey. If you have been a longtime viewer, I started getting Anthurium, I think in 2019, 2020-ish. I started growing more of that side of my collection, and I've had all of them ever since then. I've only ever killed one Anthurium before. Wait, did I? Oh yeah, it was a forgetti-eye. She didn't make it. But yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I've managed to keep them alive. Now, are they all like stoked and happy to be alive? Not in every case, but they are holding on, and I'm really proud of that. So anytime a Anthurium puts out a new leaf, it's really, really tiny, and then it gets like big, 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 and it expands. Somebody told me that if you have higher humidity, the leaves on your Anthurium will get bigger and bigger, which I think is why this one has gotten so big. Like the last two leaves that it put out were quite sizable in comparison, which I showed you the comparison already, so I don't need to do that again. But yeah, this one also flowers pretty regularly. So it'll do a leaf, then a flower, then a leaf, then a flower. And I thought to myself, since it's flowering so much, I'm going to gather up some pollen. And in a previous vlog, I showed pollinating the flower on this. And you guys, it took. So I am going to eventually have Anthurium clarinervium berries, which is basically like the seeds. You like open up the berry and then you like dry it out, and then there's the seed. So this is what the flower looks like after it's been pollinated. I noticed that this one looked a little bit different. Like it got some like black dots on like, I don't know, just in this area. And I was like, wait a minute, I think that means something, because typically if the pollination doesn't work, I've tried pollinating this clarinervium, I think twice before, and I wasn't successful. One of the times is because I pollinated it with a forgetti-eye, and I don't think that forgetti-eye and Anthurium clarinervium can cross-pollinate with each other. I think that was just like a me problem. But I pollinated it with its own pollen from a old flower, and it worked. And I'm gonna take you along on the whole journey and how it goes, but I'm just truly so excited about this. Like, it's just fun. Like a big part of owning houseplants that I love so much is just the ability to experiment and to try things out. And I don't know, like learning how to pollinate a flower, like a tropical flower, was really cool. And I kind of just like took a paintbrush, grabbed the pollen, and then like, you know, put it onto the flower when it had like the little sap on it, when it was like ready. And it freaking worked. I feel like a scientist. So if you are like ever wanting to try it out, you can save the pollen from a flower that your Anthurium puts out and then pollinate the next flower that it puts out. I just keep it in like a little cap and then put tin foil over, and then I write the date, because I think it expires after a certain amount of time. But because mine flowers so often, the pollen was only like maybe a month old. So it took, and I'm so excited, and I'm like guarding this flower with my life. You can see that it's like a lot taller than the rest of the plant. So like I almost didn't even take this out of the cabinet to come show it to you because I'm so nervous about the flower breaking off. It actually did put out a different flower at the same time as this one. It had two flowers coming out, and the other flower got beheaded, and I was like, oh my God, I have to be so careful, because I didn't even know what I did to like have that other flower get chopped off. I just found it sitting on the ground one day, and I was like, oh my God. So I have to be very careful with this thing. And also I heard online through, somebody sent me an Instagram page of someone who pollinates Anthurium all the time. They said if you put a bag over it, it will happen a lot faster, like the berries will ripen a lot faster. So I think I'm gonna do that just to see if that helps, and also just to keep it protected, because somebody else that I follow online said that it took her berries 10 months to be mature. And so that's a really long time. Like that's like, what month would that be? That's like next early summer. So like May, I think. So we're gonna try to get it to be a little bit of a more expedited process by putting a bag over it. We'll just have to see how it goes. I will definitely keep you updated every step of the way, because this is truly like the most exciting thing in the world. So everybody send my Anthurium clarinervium your love. She is expecting, there is a baby on board, and we just have to take good care of her. Okay, you guys, the next plant is a little bit heavy and my battery's gonna die, so I'm gonna wait to show you until I get a new battery. Hold on. Okay, here we go. This is my Thai Constellation, my Monstera Thai Constellation. It is almost too big, or it is too big for me to have it in frame with my face. Ooh, there we go. Okay, so as you can see, this is my Thai Constellation. It is definitely my favorite plant in my collection currently, I think. But just because like this situation is so beautiful, like I think anytime there's something as eye-catching as this moment in the you know, the plant room, my eye is always drawn to that spot. So then I think that's my favorite plant right now. So yeah, I've always been more of an Albo Monstera girl over the Thai Constellation, but I think this moment right here is converting me to be more of a Thai Constellation girl, because the variegation on this plant is absolutely insane. It is so beautiful. And each leaf is unique, and that is why it is so exciting. I think variegated plants in general are much more exciting than solid green plants, but that's just me, you know? So I find it that every single leaf will come out looking a little bit different, and that to me is really exciting. And so that makes a plant that is really fun and exciting to grow, because you just never know what you're going to get when you get a new leaf. Like this one has like a really cute creamy margin right here. This leaf had like a mottled creamy margin right here. This one has like it on the corner. You just don't know what you're gonna get. And also I wanna point out that this is a Plants on Planks success. I just made a Plants on Planks update video to show you like how it's going. And I have to say, like this leaf down here, which you can barely even see because these leaves on top are so big, look at that, look how small that is. So this is how big the leaves were. Actually, no, this is bigger than the leaves were when I got this plant. When I got it, it was pretty small. I paid like $100 for it, and it had like 4 leaves that were maybe like 4 inches long, which is a pretty good deal. I think now they're selling like pretty small tissue culture varieties for like $60 to $100. Yeah, it's been on a plank for a while, and it's been leaning against the plank now, and it's been putting out these huge leaves, which I'm super excited about. And in the past, this was the only plant I ever had that attached to a moss pole. And so after it attached to the moss pole, we got these leaves back here, which are pretty big in and of themselves. But then we have the plank action, which brought us these 3, which is a moment. It's a whole moment in itself. So anyway, I could go on and on about this plant for like a really long time, talking about how amazing it is, but we're gonna leave it at that because, you know, we got 2 other plants to talk about. So anyway, Monstera Thai Constellation. The next plant that I wanna talk about, I can't physically bring it inside because it's in a planter outside and it's pretty heavy, but it is the Caladium Hilo Beauty. I purchased it, it was labeled as a Alocasia Hilo Beauty, and then a bunch of people were like, hey, that's actually a Caladium. I'm currently growing it on my patio as a landscape plant in basically full shade. It is living underneath a really big oak tree, which brings pretty dappled light, and if anything, it gets western exposure in the late afternoon, right before the sun goes behind another set of trees. So it's not getting a ton of direct light, which makes me think that it would do pretty well in an indoor environment. I mean, caladiums in general are for like a shade garden situation, and so that's why they do well as house plants. If you've ever wanted to try a caladium as a house plant, I've seen a lot of really, really beautiful varieties, the Hilo Beauty being probably like top of the list. It has really beautiful like lighter green specks among the dark green in the background, and the leaves are really big and like heart shaped, and I think that's really lovely. And one of mine has bigger leaves than the other, and I think it's because it gets a little bit more sun exposure. So just depending on, you know, your conditions, the leaves have just been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And also It's really humid where I live. Like the outside environment, it honestly feels like the tropics sometimes. Like it's very, very humid and very, very warm. Especially this summer, it was very intense. And I think that they just absolutely loved it. So if you are looking for something fun to grow in the shade on your patio, definitely look into Caladium or like specifically the Hilo Beauty. And in the winter time, I'm going to experiment with bringing it inside to see if I can keep it like having leaves over the winter time. But typically people will just cut off the leaves and store the bulb somewhere, like in their garage or something like that. That's always a possibility if it doesn't go very well in here, because I have a feeling maybe it would be a spider mite magnet. Fingers crossed it's not, but I have a feeling if it's anything like alocasia, alocasia love spider mites, or spider mites love alocasia. The last plant that I want to share with you is the Philodendron Crescenta. And you know what? Every time I have somebody over to my house, they point out this plant and they're like, what is that? And I'm so excited to share because I have not seen very many people keep this as a houseplant. And because of that, I have talked about it I don't want to say quite a bit, but I have talked about it a few times on my channel. So if you're a regular, you've seen this one before. So here's a little growth update. So, you know, we had the original bunny ears, which we discussed around Easter-ish. And since then, it's put out this whole situation, which is pretty cool. It's definitely a plant that takes up a lot of space, and so for that reason I'm really excited to have this grow in the greenhouse because it can just get as big as it wants, and also I can chop it up and share the cuttings with other people, which is going to be super fun. And something funny about this plant is it puts out a lot of like sap, and as a result fungus gnats land in that sap, so it's kind of like a gnat trap in itself, which is pretty funny. This leaf right here has like, I don't know, 20 or 30 gnats on it, and that's pretty funny. When I first saw it, I was like, what's going on here? But this plant has always been kind of sticky, and I don't really know exactly why, but it must have a purpose in nature, so I'm just gonna trust in that. But yeah, look at how cool and slender these leaves are. They're just so cool. I love lance-shaped leaves, and so this one is really no exception. As you can see, all of the fungus gnats on here. I really need to figure out why this one makes so much sap. Like philodendron do tend to do that. I have my philodendron, oh wait, it's not over there anymore. Sorry, my philodendron splendid does that recently too. And I'm not exactly sure why, but I'm just gonna go with it. I don't see any pests or anything like that. It must have an intention in nature. So if you know the reason, definitely comment down below. I haven't researched that one yet. And also, I think on a previous video I asked if this is meant to be grown like horizontally or vertically, and people said both. Like people were saying, oh, vertically, and then other people said horizontally. So I'm like, maybe it can do both. So maybe in the greenhouse we'll try to have it do both. Who knows? Either way, she's really beautiful and cool to watch grow. All right, you guys, that is my collection of really fun plants to grow, plants that are just like interesting to watch. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, let me know what plants in your collection are really fun to watch grow, because maybe I can add a few more plants to my collection that are just like interesting, and I think I would really enjoy that. There's a few that I have my eye on that are gonna be just amazing for the greenhouse. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me on TikTok and Instagram if you want to see more live updates and just other planty content. All right, guys, I will see you next time. Bye.